Put your red shirt on and a brown coat too. Everybody's joining the crew. We got just one drink that we rule them all. Hope would remember your thoughts. Get your Ulu feathers and your Middle guns. A sonic screwdriver or a sword plus one. Usually wins steel if it will get you to come. To the pit tank. To the pit tank. The Rocky Mountain pit tank.
Hi, I'm Guy,
Hey, I'm Troy,
Hi, I'm Alex.
and this is Geek Tank.
your bite-sized podcast.
I'm noticing that Troy and I have decided to put our key lights on opposite sides. So we and then Alex is just evenly lit. It's like
Mine wasn't so
Troy
much.
and I
by,
are like key lights are going two different directions.
Mine wasn't so much by choice.
No, mine really isn't either because I've got the big window right here, which is bringing in a ton of light. And I realized that without this light, I'm just like this shadow on this side. So I moved this light to move it here to make it a key. And this became, ironically, a fill, which will become more or less of a fill as weather determines. So we'll see what happens. But it looks better.
Hello, Brent.
So anyway.
Well, cool.
Hey,
we
Brent.
were going to talk about foodstuffs. A couple of different topics. One related to the quirks that our kids and maybe even we have, and then also my connection to a lot of new foods and new food places has been Alex. For instance, I still eat Qdoba and occasionally Chipotle, but when we were picking big burritos to go eat at some time, Alex had suggested, why not illegal Pete's? And being new at the time, I'm like, what's an illegal Pete's? And illegal Pete's is far superior to Chipotle and Qdoba. So if you're in the mood for a big burrito and you have access to an illegal Pete's, I recommend going there.
Absolutely.
And that's just an example of that. And it's so to me, I would say, the finer foods and tastes would be kind of a quirk that you have, Alex. Or I don't know if quirk's the right word.
No, it's a quirk.
Attribute?
I feel like it's a quirk because, I mean, there once was a time back in the early days where Alex wouldn't eat, like normal ketchups and normal things like that. It's like he always carried with him all of his stuff in a pouch. And so I would call it a quirk because there was, and you with these kind of foods is kind of like me with cheese. You're very snobbish. It's like you're not going to eat lowly.
I'm just generally snobbish.
Yep. I'm snobbish about
things I
things
do,
too. I mean,
the
like
food I eat, what I drink, all that. Yeah, I mean, I like this topic. We're going to be talk for hours on this, but I'm wondering if maybe we should have reached out for some sponsors before we before we started like doing
Morning
stuff.
Forest.
Well, I'm hoping it'll retroactively get sponsors. That's that like through some fluke, illegal Pete's will hear us talking about them and go, hey, send those guys some coupons for some free burritos or something.
Right. And Mod Pizza's best, but Mod Pizza's pretty decent.
I've never had them.
Yeah, one of my favorite
Pizza's
pizzas in town is Benny Blanco's over by what used to be the Snake Pit and Wax Tracks and all that.
Bring this down.
And yeah, no, there's all sorts of great places to eat around town. Fogo de Chao, I have not been there yet. So cool. Yeah. No, it's just I just I love sharing experiences, and one universal experience is like people eat. Generally.
We all eat except for one guy.
And so I try to get lots of really cool things. Illegal Pete's has been up on the hill up in Boulder for 30 years at this point, maybe more. Takis is a really great place downtown as well, over by City Grill and the Capitol building and all that.
Chubby's.
But they were
Chubby's for burritos, huh?
Oh, Chubby's is great for that classic Denver ghetto food.
Yeah.
It is great.
Agreed.
But it's the kind of thing that, I mean, I've been eating Chubby's on the reg for decades at this point, and it's still a gut punch. Sometimes
I remember with Takis, they had this. The best thing was the miso soup, and it had become a when you're sick, you go get Takis miso soup.
oh, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Taki's been closed for years. Like I think Taki died, and then like I think maybe his kids or some other relatives tried to take it over for a couple years, and I guess they found that it was a lot of work.
This
And
sucks. It's work.
this,
Who wants to do that?
this is terrible. This is way harder than I thought it would be.
You're right.
Which happens. Yeah, that place is great. And I still carry around stuff all the time. It's just that now I've got a car and
Right.
such, so it's not nearly so onerous like it used to be. But
Yeah, I'm a fan of Santiago's breakfast burritos, which is interesting because I've had their non-breakfast burrito foods, which it's okay, but it hasn't hooked me the way that Santiago's breakfast burritos have hooked me. So,
yeah, I personally don't like Santiago's. My best burrito in town is generally Burrito Giant. They have fantastically good chicharron.
Yeah. It's interesting because I'm just thinking about things that are local and things and stuff like that. We were just talking the other day about Good Times, which is a local fast food chain, which only exists here really in Colorado. And we were talking about it because we were like, it's interesting because Good Times is one of those very rare things. My wife does not like fast food. I mean, the fastest food she will go for is Qdoba or Chipotle. But I mean, you know, she will only eat McDonald's under like absolute duress. Like we're driving and it's the only thing in the middle of this one city or whatever.
Right. The Dairy Queen closed. Go to McDonald's.
Right. Exactly. So,
but she'll eat Good Times, which is basically fast food.
Right. Which she'll eat Good Times because they've got a black bean burger, which they've got there too. I mean, like, and stuff like that. She really likes. But it's one of those very rare combinations of everybody likes the food there.
Now, in Kentucky, there's a place similar to Good Times, and I guess a good joke would be it's like if you ordered Good Times from Wish. It's they have the exact same French fries, and they the rest of their food quality though is like a step down from Good Times, and this is in Kentucky, and I actually worked at a Good Times. I was the food prep person, so I got to do the assembly line, and but they I still will occasionally eat there out of nostalgia whenever I'm back in Kentucky. But when I came here and found Good Times, I'm like, oh, these are the same French fries at Rally's, but there's no real connection between the two franchises other than that. But Good Times, I think, claim to fame is their frozen yogurts.
Yeah,
it's a frozen custard.
Oh, frozen custard. Thank you.
Yeah.
One of our kiddos worked there for a small amount of time, and every time I had to pick them up from work, they would like make a chocolate mint frozen custard thing for me as a thank you for picking them up.
Dangerous,
right? And I was like,
I have to pick them up. No, I have to pick them up.
Right? I know, totally. Like we're all fighting over who picks them up.
Years ago, back at the Greenwood, where there's a Good Times in walking distance, sometimes we'd sword fight in that park and then go to Good Times afterwards.
And that Good Times closed.
Yeah, it's a terrible Mexican place now.
Yeah, it really is too. Ooh.
Yeah, it's just bad.
I mean, on the flip side, we've got these horrible Mexican places that make Taco Bell look good, and that's not cool. You know.
Yeah, I can't do hamburger stand.
I'm scanning down the list and I noticed that too. I tried them once and couldn't. It's kind of like, you know, you get a lot for your money.
Yeah,
but
you're not sure what it was made from.
Definitely quantity over quality.
Yeah, I mean, because hamburger stand was a staple for Aaron Holdaway and me back in high school and just after high school, because we could get the box full of hamburgers and it was like, you know, $10 and it came with like 15 hamburgers and 12 fries, or I don't even remember, but whatever was the story, we could pool our money together and get a bunch of them. And then, you know, we were still in the
like anime hamburger eating.
Yeah, it was so freaking funny. But we had no delusions that it wasn't made of kangaroo meat or, you know, probably the rats in the backyard, or we don't know.
Yeah. But when it comes to fast food, I generally I only eat it until I'm not hungry anymore. So if I'm
Yeah.
really hungry and I get this and that and everything, I'll like halfway through, I'm not hungry anymore, throw away. Just like it, just because it just tastes terrible after that. With the exception of Good Times, I will eat all of that. I
Mhm.
find it very tasty. But speaking of Colorado only Good Times, I've heard that they're looking to expand
Yeah, that's what I've heard too.
outside of the state and stuff. So I'll have to get some Good Times before they do that and see if their quality slips. Rocky Mountain Cafe is hilarious. So my we took my Australian father
I like the hilarious part.
up into Winter Park during the summertime. We're gonna do the Alpine slide. And so I think it was on our way back, we were hungry and we stopped there. And Lauren and I had stopped there before. And so we're sitting there, and he's from Australia and Fiji. And so we're like, oh, yeah, you should totally have the biscuits and gravy. I think you dig it. He's like, biscuits and gravy? Because in Australia, biscuits are cookies.
Cookies.
And
It's the same with like Britain and like
yeah. And so no. These biscuits are kind of like a savory scone,
Right, it has to be
and gravy.
scone
And he's like, oh,
and gravy.
okay. And so he had their biscuits and gravy and loved it. But it was pretty
Yeah.
funny.
Well, that's a Southern thing, biscuits and gravy. That's very Southern, and because I mean, I don't think my wife even knew. I mean, she knew of it, but she had never had it until we were in Texas at one point in time and ordered biscuits and gravy. Because like, and then it's always like weird. Like sometimes I've seen it with white gravy, and sometimes I've seen it with brown gravy, and I don't know. I like the brown gravy version. That's the South version for me.
I found I found and worked on a spicy chorizo and cheese gravy to put on biscuits. And
Did yours turn out
hella good.
reddish color?
Yes.
Okay, because I did the same thing, and the color was the only thing that looked weird to me. But it still, yeah, it tasted really good.
So good.
You gotta like spicy stuff, though.
And of course, the spicier the chorizo you get, the spicier it'll be. Like I wound up, the first chorizo I used was chorizo from Burrito Giant, and I was like, "This is delicious." And Lauren's like, "Oh my god, it's too much."
Dead.
Yeah, actually, what is it? Kevin keeps going to a burrito place and bringing me these burritos.
Big Mama's?
He tries to, Big Mama's, and he always tries to get like these burritos, and then he eats them. They're so hot, you can't eat them. And I'm like, there's nothing. What's hot about that? I don't even understand.
Yeah, some people got it, some people don't. Like Lauren likes more heat than she used to, and some people just never get the taste.
I've heard that it's the more you eat it, the more it numbs your taste buds or something.
It burns them out.
Burns them out. Speaking of breakfast places, there's a place Tara and I will go to whenever we have to make trips past Frisco, called the Butterhorn Bakery.
Yeah, you keep getting me hot sauces.
I get you hot sauce from there. Yeah, they do.
I dig it.
It's not jalapeno, habanero. They do a habanero hot sauce and habanero ketchup.
It's a pretty good one. Yeah, the ketchup. We should try the ketchup sometime too.
Oh, dude, if you can, next time you go through, pick me up some of that. I'm in the market for another good ketchup. I keep on looking and failing.
Apparently, the place that bottles the ketchup is right down the street from me.
Nice.
So I might not have to wait until I go back. I can go see if they sell it there.
Cool.
They will label it too, so I have no idea how much it costs, but we might be able to do our own Geek Tank ketchup.
Right. And I see Denver Biscuit Company is tasty.
No matter what. Just Brent talking about the fact that a library had a cheeseburger.
That's the library.
Yeah, but I mean, like, my thought is,
it's like the school.
Please don't smear the
schoolhouse
all over the books. You know.
Yeah, the Schoolhouse and Scrumptious were two places that you introduced me to in Arvada.
Hey, you almost said it right.
Arvada. Yeah, Denver Biscuit Company's good. I haven't been to Mavericks. Haven't been up in Granby very much, but hopefully we'll be up there in not too distant future.
Someday.
The library closed. You said I hate it when a place I really, really like and look forward to going to totally closes. It's like,
Mannequin Frites,
Razor Glass.
Bitter about that. Razor Glass to Mannequin Frites.
But
oh man.
Yeah, there's a place. It's been, I think my Facebook feed told me 10 years ago. There's a place closed down close to me called U Garden, and it was an Asian restaurant, and everything I ever tried from there was delicious. And it's like I was like, I loved their pad thai, and I'm like, I'm gonna try something new. Had their sesame chicken, it was delicious. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try a new thing every time I go here, and everything I tried there was amazing. And then King Super's like, we want this spot for more parking. We'll buy your little restaurant. And the owner's like, that's a good chunk of money to retire on. Goodbye.
Hey, can't blame them.
No, it didn't. I mean, I keep thinking about all of these places that died out. And the other day, I was in the parking lot at 88th and Wadsworth, and I was just looking over at Red Lantern and Little Caesars, which are right next to each other in the little strip mall there. And I realized that my mom used to always order food from Red Lantern because they delivered to her. But like, I remember going to Red Lantern when I was a little teeny guy, not little teeny, 14, 15, right? When we first moved into that area. And they're still there. And that Little Caesars is the same place that we would have Friday night pizza from, because mom would be so tired from work on Fridays. She was like, I don't want to cook. And everybody would be like, my sister and I are like, ooh, pizza, that's awesome. So she'd go get the $5 two pizza specials from Little Caesars. So it's like, that back in the day when they had the big long pizza, two pizzas in the long thing.
Yeah.
Or the Bigfoot when they had it was just all one big square pizza.
Yeah, the gamer pizza.
Yeah. So let's see. Haven't been to Mint Steakhouse, Fat Shack. Yeah, that place is good. Tommy Knockers haven't been to. Sweet Rice Cafe haven't been to. But trying to think of other places like there's Greek Pete's Cafe. That's a classic Denver after club place. There was also a place called Barracuda's that had a really good post clubbing breakfast. For a classic style diner, not in decor, but just in food and everything, is Joe's Cafe at 44th and Garrison. That place I go there on the reg. It's really good. Trying to think of other things. Oh yeah, like other experiences I've introduced people to. Like I took the great eggnog. I got I still have a cachet of Tim Tams from Christmas time when they came.
And
back
now I know where it is in his household.
Yeah, the ones they sold in the stores here weren't that good. They I don't think they still have them, but I remember seeing them briefly in the store. I don't know which brand they were, but picking them up and going, these don't taste the same.
Yeah, like Pepperidge Farms for a little while had like the rights or something to do the Tim Tamery, and I don't think they were as good either. But those all say product of Australia on it. So
Bojo's Pizza. So Bojo's is one of our family's favorite places. I mean, Forrest is talking about Idaho Springs, but I love the one here in Arvada, obviously, because it's in Arvada and that's right down the street. But man, their firecracker pizza, that's serious. It's got like white sauce with hot sauce in it, and it comes with chicken and jalapenos, and it is one of my favorite pizzas ever.
Cool. I haven't tried that one. Usually, really like I don't like tomato-based sauce pizzas with jalapenos. Like there's just too much acid. It gives me
right.
indigestion.
This is a cream sauce base.
Yeah, so the cream sauce would be interesting. Yeah, and then I do like
wonderful.
I do like the pizza with barbecue sauce and jalapenos.
That one's really good too. They have that cheeseburger pizza that they used to do back when. I'm hoping they'll get back to except that so when it comes to pizza, I like everything on pizza except for anchovies and Italian sausage, and I don't like the fennel in the Italian sausage. So if they just do ground beef, it's perfectly fine. I'm okay with that. So, but they used to do that too. Before COVID, they would do lunch specials where they would just run a buffet up there, and you could just come up and get pizza.
Oh my gosh! So like post COVID, so many lunch specials have died. Like Denver Beer Company, they do burgers inside there, and they used to have a lunch special that was, I'm going to paraphrase Pulp Fiction a little bit. Like you would get for $10 a basket of fries, a fresh grilled cheeseburger, and a beer. I'm not doing no paper cup, I'm about a glass of beer.
Right.
And for $10, and I was in there like every week. I was like, no way I'm passing this up. And after the Ronas come through, they're like, we can't afford to do that anymore. I'm like, I get it.
So this isn't like at all any kind of quality, but routine that I've had. I try not to do every day because it's not all that healthy. But if you get the McDonald's app, they often have repeated specials, and you can get any breakfast sandwich for $1 is one of their specials. So I'll get the egg McMuffin because that's the lowest of the calories because it's the ham and not the sausage. And then I get a coffee for $1, so I get my breakfast for $2 using the app. And it would normally be like $6 because their breakfast sandwiches are like $4 or $5.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, getting cheap stuff that's of a quality that you can tolerate. I wonder why. Yeah, but it's the specials are definitely gone.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm not a fan of buffalo chicken wings, but I saw an ad where it was like they're doing that trick that a lot of places do, where it says buy one get one 50% off instead of just saying 25%, is because that's what you'd be paying if off of each one. And somebody had posted how it used to be buy one get one free before that. So getting the deals are gone.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Fried gator tail, huh? It's a Bass Pro up in Northglenn. Didn't know they had a restaurant in there. Cool.
Didn't know you could eat big gator tail, but that's a thing.
I've already had gator once, and it was really greasy, and I don't know if that's the standard or just the place I had it from.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's another pretty good pizza place on this side of town. So they've got a few locations called Goombas. Make a good pizza.
Yeah, but do you have to hit them with a turtle shell? I'm just
they get the joke. You go in there's like a big chalkboard, and they'll have pictures of Mario and Koopa shells and stuff.
Fair.
So
that's as long as they're in on it, it's good.
Yeah, and kind of like a good frou-frou brunch place here in Arvada is the Breadwinners. I was worried that after the Rona they might have slipped in quality, but now I've been there a few times. It's all great. It's over there in Old Town Arvada.
Gotcha. That's
Best
cool.
followers, mountainviewers.com. Yeah.
Nikita Voronzov. Okay.
So what do you think drives the quote unquote snobbishness? Because it's just this weekend, it's where I felt like I had one of the rare moments where I felt snobbish because I had this coffee I didn't really care for, and I passed it on to friends, and
to great fanfare and entertaining discussion.
Yes. But for me, it's one of those things where I was drinking it. I felt more out of obligation because it was a gift. And I'd commented how I didn't particularly like it. And Tara had said to me, "Why are you drinking it then?" And I'm like, that's a really good question that I don't have a good answer for. And she's like, "Get rid of it and get the coffee you want." and it had occurred to me, I've been at a place in my life, I just haven't like adjusted to it. I've been at a place in my life for a long time that I can afford to be picky. But growing up in a situation of not having that luxury was just been really hard to get rid out of my habits in my brain. For instance, I used to never be able to throw away food unless if it was like going to be fatal. It's kind of like, it's gone a little bad. I'm like, well, it's not going to kill me or make me like horribly sick, so I'm going to eat it anyway. And
I'm actually kind of doing that with like a thing that I made last week, and it's sitting in the fridge, and I'm like, I don't know, it's right on the edge.
Well,
but it's
junk it.
Yeah.
You didn't eat it over the past week when it was good. Junk it.
No, I've been eating it all week. I made a lot, so I cooked so it was. I've been experimenting with foods, and this was actually really cool. I made steak fajita quesadillas, and they were really, really good. But Mariah couldn't find. They were supposed to be Philly cheesesteak quesadillas, so she didn't find Philly meat. She found just steaks. Because the way it works is if you order it from King Soopers and do the app thing, if they can't find the thing, they'll replace it with something generally more expensive for the same price. And so we got these really nice steaks. And so I just cut them as thinly as I could, but you have 5 steaks, and no matter, And it was just like I just ended up with an entire wok full of steak and peppers and onions and things like that, which was great. But it's now getting kind of at the end of it, and I'm like, but it's really good steak.
Yeah. Freezers.
I don't want to throw it out.
Put it in a freezer.
Yeah, it's getting
Let's
to
go
that.
paleo for the next 2 days.
It's like totally getting to that stage where it's like, oh, I really shouldn't eat this anymore. I should just throw it out. But boy, what a waste, because they were really good steaks. And I'm ringing my own bell here, but I did a pretty good job cooking it up. It was really tasty. So
Cool. Yeah, Dry Dock does have some tasty beers, and a brewski's as that is an accurate assessment. Pretty tasty, pretty pricey. Let's see. Oh yeah, so where does the snobbishness come from? Yeah, we're at the point in our life where we don't need to sit there and try to generally get calories in at any cost, and
Right.
keep going.
Yeah, when we were
And,
younger, hamburger stand was acceptable. Now, I haven't gone to hamburger stands since the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, and I probably won't. I can't see any.
These
reason.
habits are hard to break. They'll still get Taco Bell craving, as horrible as that is.
Oh, I get Taco Bell cravings all the time, and it's brutal, and I don't even know what to think about it.
I feel really bad for you too.
I feel bad for me too.
It's like that quote, it's like
on the flip side, my stomach is ironclad, so at least at the moment,
all of
I
it
have no ill effects from eating.
My problem isn't the ill effects. My problem is the calories with it.
Oh yeah, calories are brutal. The calories are rough.
So that's, if I could not crave Taco Bell, I would choose to not crave Taco Bell.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yep.
I totally agree with that. Because
you probably haven't hit this point because you've been raised in Nova, right? But I know for me,
that kid is picky, but she takes after her dad that way. So
when I had kids, that really trashed my willpower to the point of they would buy McDonald's. They would want McDonald's all the time. And I didn't have the discipline or to say, no, let's go somewhere else. I didn't take my mom's method of that, of here's what you get, eat it or shut up. And I don't know why I went a different way. And it might be because I hated that as a kid and I wanted to provide something different. Also, when you have a kid with autism, their level of toleration is beyond comprehension for people without autism. And so it's like, it's not a he's just not eating that because he's picky. He's not eating that because it tastes like sandpaper on his tongue. It's torture, as opposed to just saying I don't want to eat it because it slightly tastes different than what I like.
Right. Yeah.
But we've got kind of that actually brings us to the second part of this.
That was my plan. I was leading there.
Because I have an ADD kid, and us ADDers are actually, it's like autistic light. It's got a lot of the attributes and pieces of autism, but we're more capable of interfacing in society a little bit better. And I've been picky all of my life too with things that are textures. For example, I went to this wonderful boba place, and they had the boba, this like chocolate shake with boba at the bottom that was chocolate boba. I couldn't stand the boba because it was slimy, not because it tasted funny or anything. The taste was fine. It was the sliminess. It was something about the texture of the boba. So next time I went in, I just ordered it without boba, but it seemed kind of weird to go to a boba place and not order boba, but but I can't deal with the sliminess. It's squishy and slimy, and it tastes like eating clams or something like that. And I can't eat clams either for the same reason. It's repulsive. So it's a texture thing that's very similar, I noticed, to the way autistic people read things. But my kid also is extraordinarily picky. We were discussing this last night. We had gyoza, which is pot stickers, I think is what we call them here, but we call them by their Japanese name, which is gyoza. When we have those, we've got a big frozen bag full of them. And when my wife is like, I don't know what to do, she just makes a bunch of gyoza and some spinach and some mushrooms, and that's what we have. Well, my kid wouldn't eat one of them because it had torn when it came out of the pan, as in it just had a little piece that had torn off, and he wouldn't eat it. And that was an interesting fight. And he's already super, super picky. Eats like Triscuits, and that's it. Pretty much, like Triscuits and tea, and then candy, of course. He'll eat any candy. But
so connected to the quick search too, it's because I was wondering what the term was called. It is connected to autism, and it's called rigidity and routine.
Mm-hmm.
So you're breaking routine, and you're forcing an adaptation to a situation. And people who have a mindset of like, I can't do that, I need it to be the same way every time. Taryn used to be the same way, and he still kind of is. I've just gotten better at it. I'd make scrambled eggs, and the first set of scrambled eggs you make is going to look like picture perfect scrambled eggs, but with the stuff left over, you're going to get little specks of brownish color.
Those are the best, though,
because it causes it to look different. Taryn thinks it's wrong, and he won't eat it. And that's a rigidity routine aspect thing.
Kiddo does the same thing. But I'm trying to break him of it. And the reason is because it's socially awkward. And it's one of those, I just need him to be able to override it. Like I said to him last night, when you're at home alone and there's nobody but you and your cat, you can eat whatever you want. But when you're out with your buddies, you don't want to be sitting there going, no, we can't go anywhere but this one spot, and I can only have this one thing. Because then your buddies are like, you know what? We're not going to food with you anymore. And food's a very social thing. I mean, like, we're getting older now, and if I were to say, okay, everybody, let's go to Taco Bell, there'd be an awful lot of, no, let's not.
It's like, see you in an hour.
Yeah.
Right. But you could, but between the three of us, and it actually is starting to get kind of frustrating to me, by the way, that everybody now is starting to be different and weird and all over the place is what we can have. We actually did that like 2 weeks ago, or last Friday, in fact. We had already decided we were going to go to Qdoba, and we had a literally 6-minute argument in the car between Kevin, my kid, and me. All three of us arguing over what we were going to eat. And we finally settled on Qdoba. So I called Troy, and Troy's like, yeah, there's no Qdobas close to me. Why don't you go somewhere else? And I'm like, no, because I'm not having this 6-minute argument again about what to have near your place. So I was like,
let's see, we've got a Little Bear Saloon. Yeah, they I don't know if they've been doing it again, but they used to be a really great small live music venue too. Societal norms on it. Like, Kai is getting to the age where they're gonna, potentially be having food at friends' houses and having food at potential girl boyfriend houses,
right?
And it's the kind of thing where and I haven't run into this in so long because I've been married for 20 years, but also it's like, I was just watching only the first season of Cobra Kai, no spoilers. I'm watching Cobra Kai, and
the sushi scene.
The sushi scene is like, I don't like sushi. And I'm like, pause it. I'm like, you eat that goddamn tuna or you get the F out of my house.
Right. Because that's the thing. It's when we go to somebody's house, the food they offer us is a gift.
Yes.
And that's societally structured that way. And I have eaten a number of things that I'm like, did not like that at all. You know what I mean? But you don't say anything. You smile and you eat more. Oh, this is wonderful. And I don't
eat more. I eat enough to be polite.
Right. That's exactly. You have a polite level.
And then
exactly
would you like some more? No, I'm saving it for dinner. Thank you. But
it's totally fine that you socially eat up to but you have to be able to. And at this moment, both Taryn and Kai would both be like, no, I'm not eating sushi. Just like what you were saying with Cobra Kai. So it'd be like I
think another a way to approach it would just to teach how to politely refuse something. then you can even offer an explanation. So if it says, I've got this weird taste thing
Right.
that causes
That
things to
might
taste
work.
different to me, I'm really sorry. I appreciate the offer, but I'm going to have to pass.
And it's no knock on your cooking.
Right, exactly.
I'm sorry.
It's a
cilantro
texture
tastes like
issue.
burning soap to me. But
Right. But I mean, it's like the boba stuff. It is. It's I tried it. It was slimy. I can't deal with it. And so even though my drawing group now meets at this boba place every Tuesday, I go in there and I order their chocolate shake without boba.
Ask if you can get the boba on the side and just give it to someone else, if they're still charging you for it.
I don't know. I'm not that picky.
This brings us back to good times because one of the groups that when I first moved here joined for role playing, because I can't remember what the name of the place was in the mall. It's like games people play, or it was the only game shop. Like you could go buy dice and D&D and miniatures in it, but it was in a mall, and they were like in multiple malls. But they had a posted board where people would put up index cards looking for players, and so when I moved here, that was how I originally found some people to role play with.
Yeah.
One of the people in the group was vegetarian, and we went to Good Times, and he would order the cheeseburger with everything on it except the burger. But they still charged him for the burger. And I had just ordered a double cheeseburger. And the guy knew we were together. He's like, well, we have to charge you for the meat anyway. Do you want it? So he offered the meat from that burger to be added. I'm like, sure. So now instead of it being a mighty deluxe, it's a mighty ridiculous deluxe.
Because it was triple.
But
awesome.
Yes, that was my frugalness of the, you're already paying for it, so you might as well put it to use somewhere.
The ridiculous.
Yeah.
Speaking of ridiculous things, though, because you were talking
Our
about
sponsors.
The Mighty Deluxe.
Oh wait,
it is time to talk about our sponsors.
They have ridiculously good deals.
They have ridiculously good deals. So, Geek Tank is sponsored by Kieran Games, Geekway Homes, and Your Mom.
And you can only eat at one of those.
Heyo.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think I'm just gonna leave.
Yeah, I didn't go there earlier with guy and his clams crack. Okay, let's cut this out.
Okay.
So,
he working hard on this.
But then, so with like snobbery and such.
Snobbery.
Preference. There's texture and all that. I think so. My mother's got the super smeller and therefore the super taster gene complex. And I'm sure I have part of that too. And then I think Nova might have that too, because like a couple of things that she's been, this is turning, and stuff like that. And so, but like my mom has got it ever
going bad.
Her palate is refined enough that she can taste almost anything and like tell you what's in it.
Right.
Wow. Which is pretty cool. But yeah, so I think that's. Like Lauren and I were theorizing that maybe this is something to do with our genetic backgrounds, like Pacific Islander or Central American indigenous people. It's like the food is the temperature is much warmer. Food can go bad faster. You need to be on your guard for that. Where she is European, where it's like just stick it in the cold hole,
right? Slap it with some salt,
scrape the stuff off of it, add more salt, eat. So, and there's been a couple.
Right. I mean, there may actually be like a thing that comes from that sort of. You may be right.
Yeah, I mean, we're just spitballing. We have no idea if that's the truth. We haven't done any kind of genetic testing.
No research on this. It's not.
Yeah, completely anecdotal. But no, it's just kind of interesting. And so like Lauren was cooking something. I don't know, a few weeks ago. And both Nova and I are like, that's bad. Don't cook that. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, it smells too acidic. Well, yeah, I'm frying up onions. He's like, no, whatever else is in there with those onions has gone bad.
Whatever else is in there is not good. It's bacteria.
It was terrible. It smelled awful. But yeah, I think other cool things.
So, what about weird foods that you've really found fascinating?
What's the thing that either of you guys eat that most people avoid, or a combination that normally isn't a combination? Ouch.
When I make pancakes or French toasters or whatever at home and have syrup, um, one of the things that I love to have with that is really sharp cheddar cheese.
Yeah, I accidentally came across that and really liked it because, of course, it was whatever was on the eggs that was, that we were putting egg. It was we had scrambled eggs,
Put
and
some
the eggs
cheese
had
on it.
cheese on it because you put eggs and cheese. But um, sushi. Oh yeah, Brent's saying sushi is great, but since coming back from Japan, it's never been the same. I concur. Even the what my sister called drive-by sushi, which was conveyor belt sushi. It was there was a conveyor belt sushi place down the street, which if you've never been to one of these, it is an experience. What it is literally the entire restaurant has a conveyor belt that runs through the middle of it, and it runs to the back of the house, and they will just make sushi on plates and then stick it out there, and it will run along the conveyor belts, and then you pick up whichever ones you think are great, and then the plates are color coded. And so, this plate's 100 yen, and if it's this plate, it's 200 yen, or this is 500 yen. So the different values and then at the end, when you ring up your bill, they just come over and count the number of plates, write you a ticket, and there you go. And it was really cool. So it was like a great thing, but it was also construed as, cheap sushi. That was, it was just like that's the
So you
cheese.
accidentally got cheesy eggs on your pancakes.
Cheesy eggs in my pancakes. That's how I discovered it.
Okay.
So good.
This isn't terribly different, but I remember got the urge to try something slightly different with my homemade mac and cheese, which is really popular in my house, except by the twins, because it's not Kraft box mac and cheese. But Nick and Tara don't mind that they don't like it because it means more for them.
Fair.
But I don't remember what I had seen that made me think of this, but I decided one day when making it to make a separate little dish, and I threw in green chilies and jalapenos, and I called it Angry Mac and Cheese.
Angry mac and
it was really good stuff. So I like to experiment occasionally with stuff of just throwing something different in with what I'm making.
Oh yeah, yeah. Even just fancying up some box mac and cheese when you're younger and poorer.
Oh man,
get a couple boxes and then throw in like a thing of green chilies and yum.
Back in college, Tara and I would do the chopped up hot dog and mac and cheese and ketchup.
Done that.
Yep.
Plenty of times. Or being young, Totino's pizzas. Oh.
That's one of those. That's like it's worse than Taco Bell and the cravings because there's such a nostalgic connection in my mind to Totino's pizza because it was a treat as a kid. Mega Mac.
Yeah, this was a hysterical thing that happened while we were there. I mean, like literally, I just took the placemat home with me and scanned it into the computer because I'm like, nobody will believe that they did this in Japan. But my boys loved this. This was their biggest, all my boys would leave school, go to McDonald's and challenge each other to eat one of these or two of these or three, how many of them they could get in. And it was hysterical because they were like, it was just a Big Mac, but it had an extra patty.
It would never work in America because it's missing a slice of cheese.
Yeah, put more cheese on it, sell in America. Boom.
Yeah, it would, but it was still. I went looking for this because I was like, this is as far as funny foods go. I tried one. It wasn't bad, but you're right. It needed another slice of cheese.
It's Big Mac. When I was a kid, I used to dissect my Big Macs and eat them layer by layer, and it would drove my family crazy.
At my brother's bar, they don't really give you like a basket of fries and your burger and such, but they don't really give you there's not enough room to squirt ketchup and mustard. But they have the squirt bottles, like a regular bottle. So I would, each fry, mustard, ketchup, eat. Need the proper amounts.
Speaking of weird stuff, I really should have taken a picture more often of the things they were selling at McDonald's because it's so weird. They had Good Morning. They called it the Good Morning quarter pounder, and it was a quarter pounder with a fried egg on it.
Yeah,
which
I'm not.
a lot of people like.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't because I hate fried eggs, but
no, I mean, Red Robin's had an egg on their burger for forever, and I don't remember where I even picked that up from. And I've been all over the United States, and so somewhere it was just like the normal thing.
Yeah,
to get a burger
you could
with
order a fried egg at almost any restaurant. Like
First time I saw it was on The
Burger.
Simpsons.
Yeah, but it was like on the menu, the kind of thing where it's like, oh, okay, it's just part of this local cuisine, and it's prevalent enough to go on out there.
So Japan also had shrimp nuggets, which were interesting. I mean, they weren't bad.
They are on an island.
Were they actual shrimp?
I mean, they could easily get shrimp much easier in McDonald's than here.
Was
it actual shrimp that like it was recognizable as a shrimp in the batter?
It was exactly like chicken nuggets. It was
processed
a whole bunch of shrimp, blended it into a slurry, and then fried them as nuggets.
Oh my gosh!
I took a picture of it somewhere along the line. I can't find it. So I mean,
when I was in Germany studying 1 year, when I was doing that in college, I was with a friend, and he went in and ordered an egg McMuffin, and what he got was an egg on a muffin, and that was it. And he's like, I don't understand. That's not what I ordered. And he went back and had to deal with it. And while I was sitting there, I was like, oh, wait a minute. MIT, M-I-T, means with. So egg mit muffin would be an egg with a muffin. Mm-hmm, and I'm like, I get how that worked now. But if you work at McDonald's, you would think you would differentiate between the two.
Right.
But yeah, the food that they get at fast food places in other countries tends, or what I've discovered, seems to be of better quality in the same franchise. So like the ham they would put on the breakfast sandwiches at McDonald's in Europe was like actual Canadian bacon kind of ham. It was it didn't look like it was processed and perfectly cut into a circle.
Yeah, ordering food in other countries is fascinating, but also fraught with peril. Like I did that too. I walked
your corn pizza.
Yeah, corn pizza. Oh my god, that was so weird with mayonnaise and squid. I'm like, no, come on, guys, really? Mayonnaise, squid, corn pizza. That was just like, yeah, right. It was like, whoa. But no, I went in one time to McDonald's and I ordered their salad. And I was like, hey, salad. And then, she said, what kind of dressing do you want? And I was like, I locked up because I'm like, I don't actually know what any of these dressings are in Japanese, right? Because she's asking me in Japanese. And I said, I don't know. How do you say Caesar? And she looks at me and she goes, Kurimi Shiza? And I went, I guess that's it. Let's just do that. But I even said it. Cornbread pizza. It would have been cool if it was cornbread pizza. At least I would have understood that. But it wasn't. It was literally whole kernel corn, mayonnaise, and then squid with cheese on it. Right? I mean, it was a horror show. And ordering a pepperoni pizza from those guys, they kept looking at us like we were aliens. Mm-hmm. Every time we did that, they're like, are you sure you don't want our special corn and cheese and mayo and squid?
We've had 5 of them made for weeks now.
I know. Except that they apparently were the hottest seller for Pizza Law, which was the name of the pizza place.
So what's some of
that name is hilarious.
Pizza Law. Yeah.
So what's some of the crazy stuff?
I don't even know whether that was.
What's some of the crazy stuff in Australia that you've encountered, Alex?
So we're in Australia. We're taking a little mini vacation in our first time in Australia. We're on a resort in the Great Barrier Reef, and we're there. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. We're at the bar. I'm like, yeah, I'd like a burger. Oh, okay. You want that Aussie style? I'm like, sure. When in Rome,
right? You'll ask.
So
for that one.
So I get this hamburger that is smashed flat, which I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
I personally don't care for burgers that way, but yeah, whatever. It's a burger that's been smashed. But then it's got sliced pickled beetroot.
Oh my god.
All over it.
Oh my god.
Julienne onions and drowned in mayo.
Mm.
Drowned. And like I take a couple bites of this, I'm like, yeah, we're done here. I just scrape off all that stuff off the top and like just eat an open-faced burger. I was just like, no, this isn't happening.
I like pickled beets, so I could see actually replacing pickles with that, but a little mayo goes a long way.
It is, and I like a little pickle beet and pickles go a long way too.
Yes.
And it was just like heaped. I don't know,
Salad.
if maybe part of it was like messing with the American. That's cool, whatever. But no, that was probably the raunchiest thing I had in Australia.
I feel like that happens a lot with we're just gonna mess with you. We're just gonna mess with you.
Every place has its own cuisine,
Mhm.
and part of their cuisine is stuff that only they like.
Right. Well, and that's part of it is like that was one of the things I was most fascinated by in Japan was eating American food, or at least their translation of it.
Yep, interpreted as
Squid tastes like dry chicken. I don't know, man. So I would get squid with kyushoku, which is school lunch, because I ate with the other teachers and sometimes I ate with the students, depending. But I would eat, and they would usually on squid day, we would just get a piece of squid on our school plates, and it looked and tasted and had the texture of my kids' bicycle tires.
Why do you eat your kids'
yellow.
bicycle tires?
See, that's a different story.
Okay.
I got to go through that one later. It was a dark night. It was horrible. Anyway, but yeah, squid.
I love
and
calamari.
have a history
I love
of it.
fried calamari with marinara sauce.
You know what? More power to you.
Yeah,
You do you, boo.
because
I mean, like,
if it's done
legit.
right, it's actually tender, not slimy, and if they overcook it, it's rubbery. So
Yeah,
you
well,
got.
that's what
But
happened with us.
but if you cook it just right, it's great stuff. Nick, my kid, and his cousin, when we were in Germany, they ordered a squid pizza, and it was like actually really good because it was basically calamari on top of pizza. Because he used to, that'd be the thing he would ask for all the time, but it's expensive, so it'd be like you can only get calamari once a month if we're gonna do this or something like that. But yeah, so you just don't like fish in general.
Right.
So.
I'm not a fish person. We've kind of rolled that down to I just spent so much time being a Colorado landlubber, and in the 80s, fish here was so expensive to bring fish in, and so all we ever had as far as fish went were the fish sticks and tuna.
Saying he doesn't like the taste of paint. I'm like, just drank all the paint.
gross.
So it was horrible. Anyway,
best fish I ever had, and it's one of those things where it's like every now and you'll probably like maybe 10, 15 times in your life you'll have food where you're like, it never gets better than this kind of food. It was at this outdoor festival in Germany next to this fishing hatchery, and they basically take the fish, take all the bad stuff out of it, stick it on a stick, splay it open, put the spices in it, put it back together again, and roast it. And it's like the most tender, delicious fish I ever had. And
that's actually sounds pretty cool. I mean, I'd probably still turn my nose up on it, but and we can't leave without discussing the bones issue, because both Alex and I are the only people in our group that cannot eat food with bones in it. I have no excuse. There's literally nothing. There's no excuse for why I can't eat things on bones. Somewhere about when I was 21 or 22, something clicked in my brain. And if I can identify my food, I empathize with it. And that's it. I can't deal with it anymore.
Now, does this goes to the point of like, if I put a fried chicken breast in front of you and gave you a fork and a knife, you can't just cut the meat off of it?
Yeah, it starts to gross me out at some point.
Is it the red stuff on the inside?
I'm sorry?
Okay, if it's not cooked right, a lot of times you'll see the red on the inside. Is that
sometimes that bothers me too? Yeah, like sometimes you can see a little vein or whatever, and that'll freak me out a little too.
Because my kids don't like to eat. Other than Nick, don't like to eat the chicken off the bone except if it's a drumstick, and I figured out that it's a return on effort, and
Uh-huh.
the amount of effort they have to put in to get meat off of a thigh is way harder than just taking a bite out of a chicken bone. But if I scrape all the meat off of a thigh and just give them the meat, they'll eat it with a fork and be happy. They
Yep.
don't care that it's coming from that. They just don't want to have to do the work of biting into it or digging it out themselves.
Yeah,
I
see,
remember as a kid, I was the same way. I didn't want to get messy
and
deal
as a
with it.
kid, I loved drumsticks. They were my favorite. And
Now you can't do
now
it.
I can't even deal with it.
Hmm.
And it's so weird. It's so strange that this happened. I don't know. And it was a switch. Something changed in me. And because I wasn't this way as a kid. I didn't have this problem as a kid. But I mean, like now, Mariah will cut the meat off of bones for me because I'll get grossed out. I really will.
Now, did you develop it after hearing Alex's aversion to it? Maybe it was empathy.
No, because but it was no, it had something to do with working with animals or being with animals. Something. It had something to do with being around animals and then suddenly being aware and cognizant. I think somewhere along that line, I was working at Heritage Square in their little petting zoo, and I think that might have been what happened because we had chickens and we had pigs and they all had names and they all had, and they had personalities, and I got attached to all of them. It was like my ill-conceived idea to volunteer at a pet shelter for like 2 weeks, which I was in tears every day because I just couldn't deal with them putting down all those cats and dogs. And my mom even warned me. She even said, "You're not going to like this."
I do want to get to Alex's story. So
I want to get to
if we go over,
Alex's
that's fine. Now, my question is like pork chops and T-bone steaks, ribeyes.
When we get to those kind of things, I can cut the meat off, and I'm not as grossed out. But I still cut the meat off before I eat it.
Well, most people do.
Yeah. But I mean, well, I don't know. I've seen people take a T-bone and go in like that. And I don't. I have to cut it and then I can put the bone somewhere else. And it's a little bit okay, but I think mostly because I don't know what bone a T-bone is.
Yeah,
and I don't want to know. So don't tell me, because right now I can handle it.
So steaks and pork chops, I'm fine. I'll trim the meat off and eat it. But yeah, chicken parts that are recognizable as chicken parts, not just like chicken breasts or whatever. I don't do wings, thighs, drumsticks, because my mother, when I was little, and she was she's a young mom, she used to chase me around the house with dead chickens, and like she'd be preparing a chicken and she would have this dead raw, almost kind of what are they called, the head crab looking thing, and chased me around the house with them, and terrified me, and I'd run away screaming and such. And I don't do like recognizable chicken.
But it is interesting, even though I don't have the excuse you do, which yours is a better story than mine because mine's just rando. But it is interesting that both you and I, it's recognizable.
Yeah. Like years ago, I had to prep up a chicken. Like Lauren's like at work, she's like, text me like, do this is a chicken. I'm like, oh God. So I'm like,
camera zooms in on your eyes.
Yeah, just roll up the sleeves and like prepare the chicken. And I was pretty much hurling the entire time. It was so awful.
It's so weird too, because it's the same thing with me. It makes me ill.
Specifically in Guy's case, this brings us back all the way full circle to the Kai not wanting to eat a ripped thing. No, it comes down to just twisting the brain.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: I will eat a drumstick if you force me to. If it's politically, like if there's going to be some kind, I will eat it and I will nibble at it and I will force down the revulsion. Because it's polite and important. And that's what it's all I really want my kid to do, is get to the point where he can, so that he doesn't have to be in the awkward position of, I'm sorry, can you get me something else that I can eat? Which is really awkward.
So fried chicken is one of my specialties. And unlike the way it was made for me when I was a kid, because price back then, of course, being poor, it was cheaper to buy chicken on the bone,
Yeah.
and so that's how it was prepared. Now
Right.
now that I'm an adult and have the money to buy chicken not on the bone, I prefer to buy it that way because I can slice it and make it an even thickness, so
Mhm.
it's all going to cook, and because I don't want to feed my guest raw chicken. um, but it's
Weirdo.
but yeah, it's one of those things that's recently I've to go off on a little rabbit hole. I've changed my recipe slightly, and I've been making more chicken parmesan style chicken, because I'll mix in the crunchier bits with the flour and that. But yeah, it's just chicken's one of those things that you don't need the bones in them. So
And I actually been one of the so there was we were talking about bringing food over on Friday nights and stuff like that, and part of it was that we were secretly hoping that we could convince you to make fried chicken for all of us at some point, because you like make some really tasty foods and you post it on the
it's
internet and you cannot eat it off of Facebook.
you know what will get me to make you fried chicken is if you volunteer to clean the stove and the dishes afterwards,
That's fair.
because that is the hardest
The
part
messiest part,
to me,
right? That's the worst part.
because it spratters and stuff.
Oh yeah, it's brutal. I have a Fry Daddy now that I'm going to try to
Is that the
do
air
stuff
thing?
out of.
Air
So,
fryer?
it's a deep fat fryer, but we got it for a really good price, and I really want to do fried okra at some point in time. So
I'm curious to try what food is like out of an air fryer and see how close it is to regular frying, because it's supposed to be healthier for you. And
Yep.
if the difference isn't that far off, I might consider getting one. I've
Hmm.
for the first time in 50 years of lifetime, I am now I'm a toaster oven person.
weird.
Which
We have a toaster oven now.
you do now?
Yeah.
So how much do you use it?
Mariah uses it a lot. I don't use it that much yet, but that's only because we just got it.
Do you still have a
It's handed
toaster?
down from James. So
Do you still have a toaster?
Yep.
See, our toaster died, and instead of
okay.
replacing the toaster, Tara's like, "Let's get a toaster oven because it does way more."
We're going to reorganize the island in the middle of that island that we don't ever use, that breakfast nook island, and we're going to put all of the appliances there so we can use the rest of the kitchen for cooking. And that's our next move. So we're going to move the toaster oven, the toaster, maybe even the coffee maker over into that island, and then have it just sort of a round table of appliances.
Hmm.
And then we'll use the kitchen then for cooking and prepping
For
food.
kitchen stuff.
Because we have a one butt kitchen, and there are 3 butts in this house, so that's a big problem. So, okay, well, we are 5 minutes over.
But it was fun.
It was a great 5 minutes that we're over, but we probably ought to go.
I suppose.
So, that's all the time we've got for today. Thank you for joining us, Stone Trucker 50, and Brent, and Forrest, who's way back there somewhere. Haven't seen Forrest in a while, but thank you for joining us. Forrest moved to Colorado Springs recently, so hope he's settling in just fine. He also kind of had some traumas in his life, but my lights are changing, so there we go. Anyway, that's all the time we got for today. Thank you for joining us. I've been Guy.
I've been Troy.
And I've been Alex.
And this is Geek Tank.
And I'm hitting the button in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.